In this video, we're going to continue talking about similarity, and we're going to actually be talking about scales and proportions for this one. So let's take a look at what a scale is. So a scale is just a ratio that compares a model measurement to an actual measurement. So you're going to have different scale models. So maybe a map, like we're going to talk about here. You could have a scale drawing of a house, like a blueprint. You could have a scale model in biology of a cell. So your model is much larger than the actual real life measurement. But so when you're comparing, you're going to compare the model measurement to the actual measurement. So if we were going to take a look here at these two maps, so down here I've given you what the actual measurement for Minnesota is. So Minnesota is about 360 miles from east to west. So the actual measurement of Minnesota here across is 360 miles. And then about 407 miles north to south. So the actual measurement north to south or up and down is 407 miles. So if we were going to be writing out a scale here, okay, we would take the model measurement. So in this first map, the model measurement is 2 inches, and that compares to 360 miles. Then in this second one, we'd be having the model measurement, which is 1/2 of an inch, compared to 407 miles, the actual measurement. Oftentimes for scales, we like to have it as a unit measure. So we want to know easily what 1 inch on the drawing is, because then the conversions are very simple to figure it out. So we like to make this first number a 1. So remember that scales are all about multiplication and division. So we're going to just divide this by 2, meaning both pieces, and scale it down to 1 inch. So we divided it into a 1 inch part. So 360 divided by 2 would be 180. So every 1 inch on this diagram is equal to 180 miles. So for this next one, we're at 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so divide by 1/2 or multiply by 2. So each 1/2 inch is 407 miles. So 2 of those pieces gives you 1 inch, okay, which would be 814 miles. So every inch on this diagram is 814 miles. So often you'll see a scale with that first number as a 1. So let's take a look and let's use the same scale from the last map of the United States. So Texas is 773 miles from east to west. So 773 miles is this actual measurement. So let's remember that we just, on that last one, our actual scale for this model was 1 inch is equal to 814 miles. So if you take a look at this, this actual measurement is 773 miles. So how long is this on the map? Well, it's going to be less than an inch, because an inch is 814 miles, and this is less than that. But so we'll go back to writing proportions. Okay, so we want this to be proportional. We want it to be equivalent. That 1 inch compares to 814 miles should be proportional to how much for 773 miles. So you'll notice that you have your inch measurement on top, and you have your mile measurement on bottom for both of these. So 1 inch, 814 miles, how many inches? 773 miles. And then you can just cross multiply and divide. So since this x is by itself, I'm just going to multiply this 73 up and then divide by 814. So 773 times 1 and then divided by 814. So you end up with x equals 0.95 inches. So almost an inch, but not quite. So then let's take a look at these two. So you can see that they look very similar. They're just a different size. So they've got the same shapes. They've got the same angle measurements, but their sides are just, this one's sides are smaller than this one's. everything else looks the same. It's as if you just zoomed in on one. So when we're looking for the scale, so which side in the figure on the right corresponds to km? So which one is similar to km? So let's take a look at km. So here's km. So which side in this other figure corresponds to km, or is the same relative spot, okay, just a different size? So this one. And so that's side EG. And then what's the scale factor? So now you're going to compare these, okay? And so the figure on the right is scaled, okay? So this is the scale, the scaled version. So we are going from this figure to this figure. So our scale factor is going to need to get bigger, okay? So if the figure gets smaller, then your scale factor would need to be smaller. So we're going to take this bigger measurement, and you can count this one. I'm going to count the flat segment to make it easiest. So I'm going to count one of the flat segments. So I'm going to do this one. So 1, 2, 3. So this one is 3 units compared to this one is 1. Okay, that's so much easier than trying to figure out the actual length of a diagonal segment that you would need to do Pythagorean theorem for. Okay, so compare these two pieces. So the scale factor here is 3 to 1. So then when we're talking scale factor, so that would be the 3 to 1 would be the ratio of how you would write that. And so then if you're trying to say, what do you do to this smaller figure to get the bigger figure? Okay, so that scale factor, it's 3 times bigger. Okay, so the scale factor is 3 times bigger. So let's take a look here. Skylar's planning to drive from city X to city Y. The scale drawing below shows the distance between the two cities with a scale of 1/4 inch equals 19 miles. So remember, 1/4 inch on the map equals 19 miles in real life. So here's the city. They're saying the city is 3.5 inches. They're 3.5 inches apart. Okay, so what's the actual distance between the two cities? So take this scale, and again, you can put inches on top, miles on bottom, and set up a proportion. So inches on the map is 1/4 inch, so I'm going to put 0.25 inches. So 1 divided by 4 is 0.25, compared to 19 miles. That's just from that scale. Then we're going to take from this picture, and we've got an inch measurement here. So 3.5 inches or 3.5 inches compares to how many miles, which is what we're looking for. So then you can just cross multiply these. So multiply this x up, and you'll get 0.25x on the left, and then equals multiply 19 times 3.5. And get 66.5 on the right. Then divide by 0.25. And you'll get x equals 266. So 266 miles is how far these two cities are actually apart from each other. So now if Skylar drives at an average speed of 40 miles per hour, okay, so 40 miles per 1 hour during the entire trip, how much time in hours and minutes will it take her to drive? Okay, so 40 miles per 1 hour, and she's going 266 miles in how much time? Okay, so remember we talked about that word per means divide. So 40 miles per 1 hour equals 266 miles over how many hours? And then you can cross multiply again. Okay, so multiply that x up and get 40x equals 266. And then divide by 40. So then you get x equals, so 266 divided by 40 is 6.65 hours. Now this one wanted hours and minutes. Okay, so we've got the 6 hours, so we already know that it takes 6 hours. Now you need to convert 0.65 hours into minutes. So how many minutes are in 1 hour? So there's 60 minutes in every hour. So take that 0.65 times 60 to convert it to minutes. And that's going to be, so 0.65 times 60 is 39. So you're going to get 39 minutes. So 6 hours, 39 minutes to travel 266 miles at 40 miles an hour. For this one, it says the scale drawing below represents the side of a ramp. In the scale drawing, 2 inches equals 3 feet. Okay, so they gave you a scale there. So they said 2 inches equals 3 feet. So the scale is 2 inches, actual is 3 feet. So what is the actual area in square feet of the ramp? So first we want to actually convert these to actual measurements. So every 2 inches is 3 feet. So one thing, so you can just set up a proportion. One thing you can do is, like I said, simplify this to a unit ratio. So we could divide by 2 to get down to every 1 inch. So divide by 2, divide 3.5 by 2, and you get 1.5 feet. Because then you can just multiply. So if 1 inch is 1.5 feet, you just take this times 1.5 to convert. And you take this times 1.5 to convert if every 1 inch is 1.5 feet. So 1.5 times 1.5 is 2.25 here. 2.25 feet for this actual measurement for the height. And then 4 times 1.5 would be 6. So then this side is 6 feet for that length. Okay, so our actual triangle's dimensions are 2.25 feet for the height and 6 feet for the width. Okay, or the base and the height. So now you can use the area formula for a triangle, which is base times height divided by 2 to figure out the area. So your base measurement is 6, your height measurement is 2.25, and then you divide by 2. So 6 times 2.25 is 13.5. Divided by 2 is 6.75. And then feet squared, or square feet. So be careful here that you actually convert first, okay, because you can't figure out the area of this and then just use the scale factor. Okay, and we're going to learn about that next trimester, about how you can do it that way, but make sure you convert the sides first and then find the area. So let's do one more. So a scale drawing of a rectangular park is 1 centimeter is 60 meters. So this one's already in the unit measure. Okay, so with the model measurement, you just multiply by 60 to get the actual measurement. So we can just take these measurements here and multiply them by 60 to get the actual measurements. So 60 times 6.5 gives us 390 meters for the height of this rectangle, and then 7.9 times 60 gives us 474 meters for the length here. So what's the actual perimeter? So remember, perimeter is you add up all the sides. So we've got 390 plus 474 plus this one would be 390 as well, plus this one would be 474 as well. So add those together. and you'd get 1,728 meters for the perimeter. So then to find the area of a rectangle is length times width, or base times height. So our length and our width are 474 and 390. So we would multiply those. And you would get 184,860 meters squared. So area is in square units. You always need that squared, and that would be the area. So convert first using the scale, then find the area and perimeter.